This is Joe's Corner 76. I'll be commenting on the human condition. In order to change it, we have to be engaged. I'm mad, or more accurately, pissed off with a lot of things. Here's a few. The flag has been at half mast for over 5 months in sympathy with the Indigenous children who died in the residential school. Is there not a real danger that this has lost its meaning? Now we hear that the flag will be raised on Veterans Day and then returned to half mast. I feel that Trudeau is disrespecting the flag that represents all Canadians. It's a symbol of our nation. This fiasco rests solely with Trudeau, the symbol man with no substance. To show real respect for the Indigenous people, give them clean water, decent housing, and stop spending millions of dollars fighting the claims of Indigenous children. Show actions, not hollow gestures. We've gone through our last election and nothing has changed vote wise. But the Liberals are proceeding with their agenda as though they are a majority government and they're going left to the NDP with their support. Aren't you tired of the country being run by 20% of the population? This group sets the course of the country for everyone. How does this happen? With only 66% of the population on average voting, all it takes is for a party to win a lot of seats in Ontario, Quebec, and they can form the government, even though they didn't win the popular vote. The Liberals are superb at getting the voters out and winning enough ridings. The solution to this is electoral reform. At present, Canada uses a first past the post election system. This doesn't reflect the electoral desires of Canadians. The 2019 election showed that Canadians wanted a majority government, but what they got was different from what they wanted. If electoral reform were in place, the results of this election would have been different. The seats would have been as follows: Liberals 112, Conservatives 116, Green Party 22, NDP 54, Bloc 26. This would have reflected the wishes of the voters across the country and reflected every region better. Trudeau promised prior to the 2016 election he would go for electoral reform, but reneged when elected. We need representation by population to reflect the true will of the people. Start talking to your member of parliament saying you want change. I'm really tired of this woke culture who believe that they have the answers for all of us as to what to say, when to say it, and what is politically correct. They use pressure tactics and scare tactics like racist, fascist, homophobic, right wing, and other names. You have to accept that there are many sexes, and if you only believe there are only two, you're a bigot. I say that you tell them you live in a free society with the right to your opinion, and you will never yield to false righteousness. They insist that you call them by certain names. Tell them you will call any individual by the name they request out of respect for their right to be called what they wish, but you will not be part of a minority fake movement. Tell everyone you can that universities are the bastions of free speech. All have the right to present their opinions so that they can be heard, discussed, and the students can decide what they think, not what some gutless left wing minority dictate. Insist that the university administrations have the guts to defend free speech. Let's put the brakes on the cancel culture. We need to start and go back to basic principles that you are innocent until proven guilty, not based on the cultural media frenzy. I fully support looking for all of the facts so the truth is used to provide a proper punishment. I really think We spend too much time on the internet, Facebook, and Twitter to get our information. There are so many theories on life, politics, religion, medicine, and many more that have no basis in fact. When a lot of these people are questioned on these areas, they have no proof, no scientific facts to back them up. Start searching, questioning, looking at many points of view. Think about what you have found. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It's your country and your world. You will get what you create. I fully accept that we live on spaceship Earth, and the majority of us, we have nowhere else to go. So we have to try and get along with one another. But that does not mean we have to give up our country, our way of life, the right to protect these freedoms to a global structure. Canada has to stand on the side of democracies who are our allies and who are the only ones who will protect us. At this point, Canada is excluded from the alliance between different countries. They won't share their security information with us. Why? Because we won't tell Huawei they can't provide us with a 5G network. We're not vocal enough about China. Canada needs to dramatically change the trading partners for those countries that are closer to our political way. The Indo Pacific region is the next great economic area, and we need to be part of it. Climate change, I think it's real and it's having an effect on the planet, and yes, we need to do something about it. The first thing we need to do is present all of the facts so we can make decisions on our very lives. Having a conference in different locations every few years so leaders can show their faces, propose things that they most likely will not reach, and in the meantime, create a huge carbon footprint. These conferences could be handled by Zoom. Next, let them all tell the truth. Two of the biggest polluters, Russia and China, are non participants in any agreements, and the leaders aren't taking these criminals to task. The next big piece of crap is green energy and the myth that it can provide all of our power needs, is sustainable, reliable, and cheaper to produce. If you look at Ontario and the former Liberal government's green energy policy, you will see it's unreliable, costs more than other methods, and windmills need the backup of natural gas power. If green energy is so reliable, why is Germany starting to use coal to produce power? Because green energy is not. Two reliable producers of green, clean energy are hydro and nuclear. Neither produce emissions. All the green energy advocates oppose nuclear energy. Canada has the safest nuclear program in the world. The world uses it, and we should be using more of it so we can produce clean energy fairly rapidly. Green energy has its place and should be developed along with the capacity to store it for future use. For the advocates of going all electric, they need to acknowledge our present electrical infrastructure needs to be rebuilt to accommodate this. We have a huge supply of rare earth that is used in batteries for electrical cars. Instead of just mining it and selling it, we should develop the capacity to manufacture these batteries in Canada. Let our leaders tell the truth. Fossil fuels are here until 2040, or perhaps 2060. The world needs them and they will demand them. Canada, who produces some of the cleanest oil in the world, should be supplying the world, and in particular, natural gas to places like China. It has half the emissions of coal. The energy sector produces 10% of our gross national product and is responsible for 25% of our exports. We need the economic benefits to support our social programs and job creation. Why is Canada, I mean the Liberals, surrendering our energy export to unethical producers? What are the Trudeau Liberals going to use to replace this? Why hasn't Peter O'Toole spoken up about this and shown support not only for the industry, but for the people of Alberta? We need to have a made in Canada energy security policy. We should not be subject to pressure on our energy supplies. We need to stop importing billions of dollars of foreign oil and build pipelines to transport our energy. This should be put to a national referendum. We need to seriously look at the equalization program that was set up to help have not provinces. In the 11 years prior to 2019, Alberta contributed $240 billion to Canada, and Quebec got $171.3 billion under the equalization program. Why does Quebec get so many $1 billion that help it support its social programs, while provinces like Alberta keep paying and get nothing in return? Is it perhaps time to revisit this program and perhaps insist that these have not provinces develop plans to become more self sufficient? The Liberal government constantly tells us they are banning all kinds of weapons to keep us safer. These are the weapons of law abiding citizens who use them for legitimate purposes. And they are not the ones responsible for all the gun violence. This is caused by illegal handguns in the hands of gangbangers. The Liberals have not put in place measures to combat this problem, but instead they are proposing a reduction in the laws for the possession and use of these guns. Bill Blair, a former police chief, knows this, and he should hang his head in shame for supporting this legislation. I don't want to see any form of critical race theory being taught in our educational system. I am tired of being told I have to apologize for who I am. I was born in this land only because my parents immigrated here. Why? Because it offered opportunity. And he didn't come here to oppress anyone, but rather to escape oppression. I don't think Canada is inherently racist, but I fully acknowledge that we do have racism here as I look at our Indigenous population and their struggles. The point I want to make is that Canadians learn from their mistakes and are willing to make changes to rectify these problems because we are not a racist state. I think being able to vote is a privilege that was earned and preserved through a lot of sacrifice. If it were up to me, I would find those people who don't vote. These are just a few things. I hope you have some too. Get involved and it can be a better world. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Joe's Corner 76. You can hear me on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker, and YouTube at Joe's Corner 76.